Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, money management during the holiday season and New Year's, you don't want to miss this with the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. But first, Fred and Gene are here. We're going to get into Governor Wolf. What's he going to propose in the budget? Who's going to run for office next year? We'll do all that and more.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Great. Hey, welcome back to the program. Well, sitting across from me is Fred Anton. He's the CEO of the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association, and Gene Barr. He's the CEO of the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry. This is our little update, business update. But guess what? We're going to talk about the state budget, and I'll start with Gene on the budget, and then I'll get to Fred on the politics. Gene, the state's fiscal situation is not good. Do you want to outline it for the folks?
Well, look, there's a shortage for this year, which is the 16-17 budget year, which will expire June 30th. And then there's another, as people like to call it, the structural deficit of the obligations going forward of something that's approaching $2 billion. Some of the $600 million is due to a number of things. The fact that certain things weren't enacted that were supposed to have been done as part of the budget.
Like gaming stuff?
Gaming would be one. And it's going to make it very difficult. Interestingly, the administration has taken a very low-key approach on asking for new revenues anticipated for this budget. Of course, we don't know until we get into February and the governor's budget address. But at this point, they seem to be taking a very low profile, very not aggressive at all, it seems, in terms of revenue. Yeah,
I mean, Fred, what the governor has said, no general tax hike. He's going to take he's already... where there are open positions, they're not going to fill them. He seems absolutely serious about, and it looks like a complete business approach. You know, you got a deficit. What are you thinking about that?
I'm very skeptical of that, and I will say this to you, Terry. Cutting spending and laying off employees is not without peril for politicians. And with these call centers, he's
unemployment compensation call centers,
and he's closing them allegedly in some Republican senatorial districts. The majority of them are there. And with all due respect to my conservative Republican colleagues, they talk about spending cuts, but spending cuts can hurt. I mean, politicians want to spend money, and they get credit for spending money, and they don't want to be blamed for cuts if cuts have to occur. So I'm not so sure that he's going to try and put the Republicans in the position where they have to either avoid cuts, which are going to be blamed on them, or raise taxes.
Now, Gene, there isn't any doubt that he's going to come back with his favorite tax, which is popular. Now, I know the shale industry is not crazy about it, and Republican lawmakers in particular have opposed it, a tax on the extraction, the amount of natural gas that's extracted from the wells. Is your sense that they could do a niche tax, but not probably that one?
Look, the reality is there is a tax on, we call it an impact fee, but having said that, you're right. Everybody thinks, quote, they're not paying their fair share, and that always seems to me tantamount to saying, I don't know what you're paying, but I know you're not paying enough. And the industry is still down. The industry's down because prices are down. We're not seeing the kind of drilling that we want, the kind of activity that we want. Therefore, I don't think we're going to get the revenues we want until we build the infrastructure we have to. So I think it's incumbent on everybody to build the infrastructure, build the markets, and then realize the benefit of this. But so will there be a push? Potentially. Last year, the year before, there was a push for something called a gross receipts tax that would adversely hit those who use natural gas. So we're going to be seeing potentially some other discussions around both of those.
But the industry, there's a lot of resistance to building these pipelines. Now, there have been a lot of hearings in various areas of the state. Let the administration get behind the development of the natural gas industry. Let the industry get the gas to places where they can charge more for it, and revenues, tax revenues will go up.
Now, what's fascinating about the natural gas industry is the price of natural gas is down, and that may be another reason why, Gene, there's no tax, no additional taxes on it. But as Fred points out, you have the pipelines that are supposed to, that would get the natural gas to markets around the country and the world. But the governor hasn't, I haven't seen him, he hasn't weighed in on that.
He said that he supports it. There is, as Fred points out, a lot of opposition to this, which is unfortunate because it can be done safely. They would parallel existing pipelines. I think people oftentimes don't quite understand what's under the ground already. And it is something that we need to do to take full advantage of this, to bring areas back such as the Southeast. The Southwest is going to see a pretty big renaissance due to this because of the cracker plant that's coming in out there that Shell's building, $3 to $4 billion in the ground.
That's in Beaver County, and that takes some, they extract certain ingredients from the natural gas and turn it into plastics. Do I got that right?
Yeah, you got it. That thing returns into a
I was not a science major.
That was close. That was good. That was good.
All right, let's run to a break. When we come back, I want to get in. I mean, already, and I think you would agree, the governor's race has started. You're both going to shake your head. And soon we're going to have the U.S. Senate. So we have Governor Wolf, who obviously is going to stand for re-election. Senator Casey is. Both Democrats in a midterm election. We'll get to that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, now celebrating 100 years as the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association and Partners for Public Education, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Welcome back to the program with Gene Barr and Fred Anton. We're going to segue now into two hugely important elections, a gubernatorial election. Fred Anton, there are a whole bunch of names being mentioned. Scott Wagner has said he's running. We don't have an official announcement yet. You have the Speaker of the House, the Majority Leader of the Senate, the Majority Leader in the House, a former Lieutenant Governor. The list is long and growing. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. And Congressman Mike Kelly.
Mike Kelly from the western part of the state.
So there are many who could run for governor, could run very credibly for governor, have served and have come up through the ranks. Mike Turzai moved up.
Speaker of the House, Majority Leader in the Senate, Jake Corman.
So all of these people, any one of these people that you've mentioned would be a credible candidate. Now, of course, the requirement for any candidacy is some political stature and the ability to raise money. Now, the difference between Scott Wagner and many of these other candidates is he has the money personally, and he showed, as a result of his participation in a number of senatorial campaigns and as the head of the Senate Finance Committee, that he's willing to spend the money. And so that is a situation. And also, it is very, very difficult to run against an incumbent governor.
Even though we had one lose, you're exactly right.
Right. So I don't know how crowded the field is going to be. We'll have to see. There's plenty of time for a shakeout.
But they certainly think, Gene Barr, that there's a vulnerability with Governor Wolf. His job performance has not been 50% or higher. It's been in the low 40s.
It's improved in 16. I think what happened, the liquor situation helped a lot. He didn't propose as many taxes in 16 as he did in 15, which certainly hurt.
Education spending.
Exactly, and I think it's one of the reasons why you don't see him talking about taxes heading into 17. He knows he's vulnerable on that. But it will be interesting. He's taken his first official steps already. His press secretary has moved over to the campaign now, so he's left and he's promoted his deputy in. So we've seen kind of the first official steps, and certain people have speculated, oh, Governor Wolf's not running. It's clearly he intends on running again.
Yeah, I think that's true. Now, the one, I mean, you've got to raise in the neighborhood of $40–50 million, Fred. I mean, there isn't any doubt about that. And gubernatorial campaigns are now 2 years long. If these guys are going to run, as you mentioned, a pretty, not arguably a formidable group of people, don't they have to get started sometime soon?
Yes, they do. They certainly do.
And Scott Wagner, Gene, is already out going to events, as Fred points out. He's here, there, and everywhere. He's got more money than he knows what to do with, like Governor Wolf. They're both millionaires.
Scott's all over. There's no question that Senator Wagner's going to run. Mike Kelly, my understanding is he has some of his own money that he can put towards it as well. And as Fred noted, the others whose names have been tossed in either because they've hinted at it or because others have, Speaker of the House, Senate, House Majority Leaders have demonstrated a propensity for raising money. So certainly they've had a track record of doing that.
All right, let's talk about the U.S. Senate race. Senator Casey hasn't announced yet, but he's likely to run for a third term. He won by 9 percentage points in 2012. He's got roots in the working class community, unlike Secretary Clinton when she ran for the presidency. It looks like, I mean, my own sense about this is Bob Casey's going to be not easy to beat.
Well, he's not only an incumbent, he's a strong incumbent. And the Casey name is very, very powerful. And Bob Casey, regardless of what his actual accomplishments are, is a congenial politician. He doesn't have a lot of enemies. He's not an easy person to feel negative about.
That's a great point.
And so people aren't out to get him. I mean, he's been a middle-of-the-road Democrat. And other than Pat Meehan, I really haven't heard that many names.
Pat Meehan is the congressman from the 7th congressional district in our state, Delaware County. It swings through eastern Pennsylvania, in Chester County, actually into Lancaster County. Fred makes a couple of good points. It's finding someone who's willing to take him on. Pat Meehan's a very popular member of Congress, but in 2016, the race for the Senate was $120 million in this state.
Little expensive.
120. Am I right about that?
I think you're going to be seeing something approaching that as well. You've had a lot of national groups who've stated their intention to come in here again. Keep in mind that in 18, it's the Democrats who are defending many, many seats.
Right.
And you're going to see a comparable amount of money come from a lot of national organizations again into states like Pennsylvania. Fred's right. Senator Casey has built up a lot of goodwill. You've got somebody like Pat Meehan who has a strong law enforcement background, who is the hints that he's going to run.
And he's also not provocative.
He's not
both
provocative.
Both of them are kind of easygoing.
Exactly. And whoever doesn't get into the gubernatorial race may wind up jumping into the senatorial race. So a lot of things have to sort out yet.
That's a good point. All right. We have about a minute left. Do you foresee any change in the state legislature in terms of party control? It looks like the Republicans have pretty substantial majorities in both chambers.
The Republicans have made a huge leap forward in the state Senate. Now they're up to 34. Now they don't need any Democrats to confirm various appointments. The senators can make, the Republican Senate caucus can make a deal with Governor Wolf. They can ignore the Democrats in the Senate. And as a matter of fact, they have been making some deals and ignoring the state party. They've been dealing directly with the...
Final word, it's going to be tough even if the midterm goes against the Republicans, even if to capture the House.
To bring that back, it's really hard to find a map for that. I hate, it's almost like it's hard to find a roadmap for Trump. You hate to say that, but at this point, it's really hard to see a roadmap for the Democrats to take back over the House.
All right, Fred gets the last word in this segment. All right, here we go. We're going to do what? We're going to talk about money management during the holiday season. with our friends from the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. We'll be back in a moment.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania, and by the Pennsylvania Coal Alliance, representing companies involved in America's most affordable, reliable energy source. To learn more, visit pacoalalliance.com.
Welcome back. Well, this is appropriately titled, these couple of segments with our friends from the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association, Money Management During the Holiday Season. The credit cards are out and the money is out. Is that right, Pat Conway? Do I got that right?
Absolutely, Terry.
I'm going to get you in here first. President and CEO of the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association, and Ed Williams, he's the CEO of Discovery Federal Credit Union. All right, the National Retail Federation, they've done this survey over the holiday season. What's the big takeaway from it?
Well, the big takeaway is the economy now is on the right track. Spending is up, lending is up, which is good. People are out, spending in the holiday season. They're purchasing gifts. Online spending alone is up 7 to 10% over last year.
And that's going to grow, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's a good thing.
The UPS and the Fed, the trucks are in the neighborhood like crazy.
Absolutely.
Now you have to worry about people stealing them off the porches, but go ahead, finish your thought. I interrupted you.
So I think the other side of that, it's good news, Terry, is that debt is up as well. And so at holiday time, we encourage people not to overdo it and to make sure you've got a budget and you're cognizant of what you're spending and, on the debt side of the equation where it's going to leave you.
The one I like is 6 in 10 people say they're going to buy a gift for themselves. Don't you like that? Do you do that?
That's the holiday spirit. I'm guilty of doing that when I'm out shopping for my family.
I do not do that for myself. I let everybody else try to guess what I want.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I have over the years. I think this year I've not done that. All right, let's talk about what's hot. What do the kids want?
Well, I know my grandkids are looking for Legos. My grandson wants a train table, believe it or not, that he could play with his trains.
There you go.
Again, the staples for the girls are the Barbies, the dolls, different types of things. Legos again for girls as well too. It's hot this year. But again, the main thing is to make sure that you can afford all of this, not to get in over your head, not to spend more than what you can afford. And as far as I know, any place that you still go to will accept cash still.
Yeah. Oh yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
What is that? But I noticed, Pat, average household debt $5,700, average for balance carrying, average balance carrying in households over 16,000. I mean, we're talking about, and this is the season to do it.
It is, and it's good that the economy's moving in the right direction again. That's a real positive thing, obviously, for all of us. But I think, educating consumers on, how to spend wisely and how to manage that debt load is important moving forward.
All right, let's get the big ones. Okay, we want people to spend, we want them to enjoy, we want them to be careful, and there are ways to control the debt.
Absolutely.
Give me a couple.
One is setting a budget for yourself during this season as well. Don't spend more than you can actually afford. If you put it on those credit cards, you're not only going to pay the price of what you bought that gift for, you're going to pay interest on top of that unless you pay it off in that first month after. So it's basically establish that budget for yourself. Mm-hmm. Another good thing is, unfortunately, it's a little bit too late right now, is save throughout the year for this period of time. Again, if you have it yes, it is very late to do that, but it's never too early to start for next year as well, too.
All right, the easy ways to control your holiday debt. We'll get back to that, and we'll do that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, advancing quality, improving lives. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Business Council and by the Pennsylvania Business Council Education Foundation.
All right, let's talk a little bit about it's the holiday season, debt. People are purchasing things. That's all important. But Pat, you have to have some specifics about how to handle it. If you just can't keep spending, what are they? What are the resolutions that you would say we'll get to New Year's, but we're heading there.
Sure. Well, looking ahead into the new year, it's a great time of year to really look ahead and plan. And as Ed said earlier, I think, having a written budget for monthly and an annual budget is important. Having a plan to save and invest. Teaching your kids about good finances. Those are three things that I think. And you do
that in the schools. You have those programs in the schools. That's very important.
Absolutely. Credit unions have a very strong presence in our school districts to try to make financial education a priority for our kids.
Get a relationship with a credit union or a bank, right?
Absolutely. About 10 million Americans right now do not have a relationship established. They're basically unbanked. They don't have any banking relationship or any relationship with a credit union. I'm partial to credit unions, but it would be a very good idea to establish that relationship with a bank or credit union.
All right, listen to this. 66% of Americans do not pay off their credit card debt each month. We're back to that problem.
It is a problem. As we said earlier, it's good news that things are moving in the right direction with the economy, but people really have to do a better job at managing that debt. And that's something that credit unions try to do on the financial education front, is really help folks understand that side. It's important.
It's also about saving instead of,
Absolutely. Savings rates at one point in time in the early 80s were about 7.5%. In 2006, it actually went to a negative 0.6%.
Oh, wow.
It's rebounded since then, so it's around a 3% savings. But most Americans really need to have more in their savings accounts.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point. It's obviously hard to save right now during the holiday season when people are, you want to buy gifts, you want to, you want to give people something to show you love them, you care about them. That's our way.
Absolutely. And spending's a big part of how we do that. It's just managing your spending wisely and managing your debt load as you do it.
Finally, let's end on this. Teach your children. We talked about this. You guys are into that big time in the schools.
Absolutely. Credit unions are very good at getting into the schools. My credit union itself, we go to every other week. We go to a small elementary school and try to help these kids save for future days.
How many are you in?
We have 50 in-school branches, but I think we're in about half of the school districts, over 200, I believe.
Correct.
All right, we'll see you next week. And as we say, Merry Christmas. If you celebrate Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, be safe, be well, and have a great one.